There is a large problem when we are looking at social media and us publishing content. Followers don't pay you, the community does. So not everyone that's following you necessarily is a client or a customer. And it's really important to identify and distinguish who within your followers is actually a part of your paying community. And we're going to revisit the ways that people pay us again. That was in a previous webinar. I'll try to link that webinar to this video because I think that there was some really valuable gems in there that we want to talk to our dream clientele for our dream business. What's the vibe, tribe? Welcome back to another Dream Small Business webinar where I'm niching down on helping solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, aspiring content creators, is how to niche down on your content and also how to connect quality content into sales. Today, we're going to be talking about the missing link between your content and your sales. Right? We're taking time to post or publish or create content, especially those of us who are creating content specifically for our business. If we are investing any time or resources into anything that's pertaining to our business, it should also invest back into us by giving us more value. And that value for us is going to equal into cash flow because our business needs cash flow. And so within building your email list, within building your ecosystem, there's only going to be a certain amount of people that's going to resonate really deeply with what you got going on, right? So one of my favorite and successful content creators, his name is Omar. I think it's El Torre. I can't remember his last name, but nonetheless, some of you may already know him. And Omar just produced a piece of content talking about why followers are dead. It's dead to our business because just having followers, just having subscribers does not equal cash. We want to understand which parts of our community we're not servicing, service them so that they have the utmost value from us aside from just our content and that we're generating consistent revenue within our business. So remember, there's only one missing link between your content and your sales. And that missing link I'm gonna break down for you just now. But first, if you're new to this channel, I just wanna welcome you in. I am talking to my solopreneurs, my entrepreneurs, and I would love if this content can reach other solopreneurs or at least entrepreneurs in the early growth stage, content creators, aspiring content creators. And so first and foremost, if that's you, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Every week, I drop a new webinar that pertains to early growth growing pains that our businesses go through. And I give you as much information and tips as possible to avoid those growing pains and to have a more seamless experience as a solopreneur in your business, or whether you have a small team, that you have as least amount of hiccups as possible. And of course, any of your partners, or if you know another solopreneur or entrepreneur, please share this content with them. That'll help us to grow the community, which is exactly what we're talking about today anyway. Okay, so let's get into it. So first and foremost, I've been having a conversation with you all about how important it is to take up digital real estate. You need an omnipresence. Your business and your brand needs omnipresence in the digital world. And one of the spaces to do that on consistently that is typically open source platform for you to advertise, market, and promote your business is going to be social media platforms. These are platforms that typically you're able to share content, you're able to publish different and various posts as it pertains to you or as it pertains to your business. Now, I need you to take a moment to realize whether you are even posting consistent content as it pertains to your business anyway. If not, we definitely need to get you posting more consistent content generally. Okay, so I have a workshop coming up. I'll give you the details on the workshop, and where I'm helping solopreneurs and individuals launch their YouTube channels and creating a general content strategy that will help you to have more consistent posts. So now that we know that we're not just consumers of content, but we are also creating more content, here's a 3-step content to community framework that you absolutely need in order to help your content to convert more community. So first and foremost, you should be creating magnetic content. What's magnetic content? This is content that people care about. It's one thing to just do something because it brings you pleasure and joy. That's perfectly fine. But if you have a goal to operate, scale, and exit a business, you absolutely need to produce quality content that people care about. It can't just be something that you care about. It has to give people some sort of payoff or transformation because people are paying you with a few things, right? So we talked about 3 ways that people pay us. They're gonna pay us with attention, they're gonna pay us with their trust, and then they're going to pay us with their cash, right? They're gonna pay us from their wallet. But in order to do that, we absolutely need to consider this framework of creating magnetic content that then helps to build the bridge from the content into a new space, okay? So it is important to take your community from one space into a more intimate space where they can receive more of you. And I'm going to directly link this to that one missing piece in just a second. But know that each time you bring someone off of your social media content and into a more intimate space where you can continue to connect with them, you are then cultivating an environment that makes them feel comfortable to pay you with not only their attention for your content, but also to pay you with their trust, because you get to communicate off of this one space of where you met them. And then ultimately you get to convert, right? So then they pay you from their wallets. I want you to think of this concept the same way as if you were taking someone out on a date, okay? Now, initially you might meet someone, this person, in another space, right? Maybe it was at work, maybe it was at an event, maybe it was on an app. No matter where you met this person, the next step would be to formally go out on a date, right? So you have some intention to share some more intimate space. There's a more enclosed and closer space so that you can talk one-on-one, you can listen, you can share, and ultimately you are exchanging each other's energy. Why? Because you want to see if you're able to build trust with that person, see if they fit somewhere into your life, and then vice versa, right? So you want to see if you're able to pay them with trust and that they're willing to pay you with their trust so that you can cultivate an environment that leads to some deeper form of connection, whether that be a platonic friendship, whether that be an intimate or romantic relationship, whether that be a business or partnership, right? We have to go through these processes no matter what. So we want to be intentional about doing that with our social media platforms. And so in order to make sure that we are intentionally doing that, there is one missing piece if you are not currently generating regular income from your content, okay? So I just want to say that I totally understand if you are new to creating content, which means you have less than 100 videos posted, okay? You have less than 100 videos published per platform, okay? You are technically new to that platform. Let's just say that. So there is only one missing link that you absolutely want to consider as you continue or start to create content to publish and post on any one of your platforms. I want you to understand that before anyone buys from you, this is what needs to happen. We need to all follow the 7-11-4 rule. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can go over this together. Okay? The 7-11-4 rule is a tried and true marketing principle that says before someone buys from us, they often need to have these three things: 7 hours of interaction with our brand, 11 touch points or encounters, and then 4 different locations or contexts where they see us. Wow. 7 hours of interaction with our brand. And when we think about how much content we've actually produced, have you even hit 7 hours, much less 100 videos, right? I think it's safe to say that if we created 100 videos, that we definitely would have hit a 7-hour mark, unless you're only doing shorts, okay? But other than that, if we're creating short form or long form content, it's more likely that we would have created an atmosphere for people to binge watch our content, right? So 7 hours of interaction with just your brand, okay? So this is content in which you are specifically talking about your brand, how you got started, what is your mission, why do you want to help me, who do you help, how do you help them, and your offers, right? What do you have to offer me beyond just this content? So we need 7 hours of interaction just about our brand alone so that people get to know us, so they start to pay us attention so that they can ultimately pay us with their trust. And then not only do they need 7 hours of interaction with the brand, they need 11 touch points or encounters. So that's 11 different ways or avenues to which they can actually engage with us as the brand or as the entrepreneur, the culture consultant. So let's say if you have a client, now you are not just meeting with this client once or twice before you try to give them an upsell, unless you absolutely have identified that their problem and that you have the solution. And so it just makes the most sense to offer. But if you are just meeting one of your cold leads, right, and you're building that trust, Okay. And let's say that you actually converted them into a client. Before you even make another offer, you might need to meet that person 11 more times before they purchase anything else from you, if they've even purchased anything from you. Because there still may be some resistance or some hesitation. Like they don't know just yet that you're able to deliver on your promise. And then we need 4 different locations, right? So this is perfect because this is where the conversation started. We want to take people from the initial meeting point on a date, or 2 or 3, in different locations so that they can see us in different ways, in different lights, in different environments. They can hear us and the way that we speak. They can feel us in our vibes through content even, right? Like we want to be in front of our leads and our clientele as much as possible. So for bridging content to community, this framework works perfectly, tried and true, so that we can turn our audience, right, our community that starts with our content, into paying customers. So let's further break down the 7, 11, and 4 rule, right? Let's talk about how we can produce these things. 7 hours of content, right? This could be bingeable content in your community that already lives on your platforms like Instagram, like Facebook, LinkedIn, or like YouTube, right? So you could produce 7 hours worth of content that your audience actually finds binge worthy. Now that's the key here, because especially as we're starting out as content creators or solopreneurs, the bulk of our content in the beginning of our journey, not that it's the least valuable, but it's typically the lowest quality, right? Sometimes, not all the time, because it's really about how we deliver. But even then, like if you've come out of being shy about being on camera or following these scripts or trying to make it perfect or get it right, and it's just been really hard to produce consistent content. Unless you're producing consistent content, you don't get better, right? So you want to produce consistent content so that your content then becomes bingeable. Okay, we want to make our content bingeable. There's also ways of researching that, and we'll be talking more about that in my workshop as well. But aside from content that people can go back and watch, I want you to consider doing lives, workshops, webinars, Ask Me Anythings, and Q&As with your current community clientele. Okay, so if someone has already made a purchase from you, they are in your community, whether you've continued to nurture a connection with them from that point until now or not. We want to find a way to reach out. Why? Because our next bullet point talks about the 11 touch points. We need to continue to touch our community. How do we do this? We do this through short form and long form content. Those two are different from shorts. Shorts are 60 seconds and less. Short form is less than 8 minutes. 8 minutes and above is considered long form content. And you want to make authentic content that shows your brand, your mission, your business, your vision for your mission, like your products and service and your offers. You're talking specifically about those things. Okay, so the more content that your audience that you want to turn into paying clients have, that the more content, that the more touch points they have to you. And then you have spaces like emails, DMs, polls, stories, and live chats. So we definitely should be building out our email list. Okay, so we're always getting people's names and emails. Like, if nothing else, that's all you need. Direct messages. I'm going to talk a little bit about my favorite apps to use for direct messages. But I mean, organically, if you could slide into someone's DM and ask them about doing one of your trials, or for checking out one of your samples, or even for watching a piece of your content, that is a space to nurture a potential client. And it is another space to touch someone who's already watching your content, who's already following or subscribed to you. Polls. Oh, I absolutely love polls. Especially in small, intimate communities, you get really great feedback. And then you get to develop your next offer, your product or your service or your solution based off of the feedback that you're getting from live people. So this is not things that you're making up that you think people may want or like or need. It is actual feedback that you get to gather from the consensus, right, of the way you should go about a thing. I use polls even simply to create some of the headlines to my marketing, because that's important, right? Marketing is messaging. So if I have a particular message, I'm going to ask a particular group of people who I think are likely to make that purchase. and then I'm going to get feedback from them about what they like. Because community, when we are engaged in community and interact with them, they feel like they're a part of building your business too. So they naturally are drawn to, remember we talked about creating magnetic content, creating compelling offers. They're naturally inclined to make a purchase for that offer, or to attend that event, or to just respond to the messaging, right? Simply because you included them. Stories, reels, all of these things are inclusive, or live chats. Go live as much as possible. Again, we are doing these things to exchange value to our community. So we're removing ourselves from the narrative that, oh, I need to go live in order to just do this piece of content. Like, yes, that's very true. But also you need to go live because you need to give out this value and create content that's going to live on your platform that people can go back and watch later, right? We talk a lot about repurposing, recycling, and making evergreen content, so that this is not something that we consistently have to do all the time. If it calls for it, fine, right? Again, if you get the feedback that people want more of this particular content, produce that content. But for the most part, you create one and it's done, and then it lives there, right? And this is content that you can reuse over and over again, no matter when you're making an offer. All right, and then finally, we have our 4 locations, right? So we start on one social platform and maybe you migrate to another platform. So we talked about building our emailing list. So the way that I like to date my wellness prospects is that I take them from one conversation into a larger group who have similar interests, and we have conversations inside of this group. So for me, that space is WhatsApp. I like to use WhatsApp to call individuals who have any type of fitness endeavors into this group, because that's where we all talk about fitness. We get to share, we get to listen, and we get to go faster and further together because we're in community, right? This also can be a private group too. So I'm saying large community, but large is relative to you. So that can be subjective, but it's up to you. You get to create whether this is a larger community or a private group, if it expands or if it stays exclusive the way that it is. Okay, so then there's also an emailing list, which we went over and talked about, and then maybe in-person or live webinars, right? Just like we're doing right now. You want to invite people into your space. So if you can do something in real life, do it. It's a really good idea. People, again, get to feel the vibes and the energies. They get to see you and see how you engage and interact. They get to ask you questions in real time, and even hopefully make a purchase in real time too, if that's what it's about. If it's not, that's cool too. That still lives as one of the touch points and as one of the hours that people get to spend with you, paying you attention, paying you with trust, and ultimately paying you with cash. Sometimes one interaction is more than enough, but on average, it is not. I want to take a moment to share that on several occasions, I see people coming in and out of the gym all the time. Most of you know that I'm a fitness instructor. A lot of these people I say hi to. Do you know that even just saying hi to a reoccurring visitor is a touch point and a way to build trust and a way to get someone's attention? So I had an experience of someone who I seen regularly coming in and out of the gym. I was introduced to them through another member, and we finally got to have a conversation. And it turns out that the conversation that we had was exactly what she needed to hear. And she asked me if I offered any services, and I told her yes, and she was ready to buy. Now, here's one thing that I absolutely need you to understand, is that I probably had a conversation with her for anywhere in between 60 to 90 minutes in real life, okay? And now, this is not necessarily the 7 hours that we talked about in our 7-11 rule, right? However, we can't discount the hi, how you doings, or have a wonderful day, or have a great workout that has happened previous to that conversation. That's a part of the 7 hours too. So we're able to do this in real life. We are just creating more touch points. This is another touch point, right? So the gym is the touch point. The conversations fall into the hours, the duration of time that we've seen each other, that we've actually got to have a conversation. And again, we get to feel all of those vibes. We get to feel whether this is going to be a transformation for us. And because we are the ones that's right there in front of them, it just makes sense to purchase from us, right? And so I was able to take that member's information and then provide her with some free content as another touch point, right? Not even selling her anything, right? Because that's not the goal. The goal is to continue to nurture our connection so that other offers that I have that make sense to her just make sense to purchase, whether we're talking about it or not. Especially when there's competing brands, products, service, solutions, okay? We want to be able to position ourselves in front of our dream clientele so that they can see very clearly that they should buy from us. Now I want to take a brief moment to talk about that workshop where we are focusing on content for our business so that we could connect our content to community and connect it to cash. So during my workshop, I am dedicated to helping you to launch your YouTube channel or to help you develop 4 pieces of content that you can use within 30 days. Okay, that's going to really help to let your audience know what your mission is, who you are, what your brand is about, and why it's important. So I'll be sharing the exact method in which I use to collect data from my prospects, and then also how to create a funnel system so that they go from initial interest to the finish line of paying for the solution that you have to offer. I don't have a date for this workshop yet, but what I do have is a wait list. All I need you to do is to click the link down in the description down below so that you can put your name on the wait list. I'll reach out to you via email and let you know all of the details of the upcoming workshop. And then we're going to talk about the 4 locations you actually should be on, especially as an entrepreneur. So my dream small business, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, this is a workshop specifically designed for you so that you can actually turn your content to cash. Content creators, if you're looking to turn your content to cash, please feel free to join us. But that's what we got, y'all. We have now solved our one missing link, right? We need to implement that 7-11 and 4 rule. So inside of my workshop, I'll help you design your exact 7-11 4 map from your first piece of content to the moment they become a paying client. You'll walk away with your 3-month content to community plan, a ready to post piece of entry point content, your automated follow-up system setup, and then of course, your community. Yeah. So I really look forward to seeing you at my workshop. Until then, make sure that you keep checking in every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for these free webinars. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace.